Okay, let's talk about the North Pole, where it's cold and everything. But and we're still in COVID times here, so can't go to the North Pole, can't go anywhere. But there are some historic things that are close to my house that are not too far away here. So let's get out of that garb. It sounds a little bit better here. We're going to talk about Matthew Henson. You may not know him. Everybody thinks that Admiral Peary is the one that was the first man to reach the North Pole, and that's a little dubious still to this day. No absolute positive proof. But he had with him a good friend and aide that had been with him for many years, a black man by the name of Matthew Henson. So let's talk about Matthew Henson before we get into the video here. In around 1887, he was working in a hat shop in Washington, D.C., and Peary happened to come in there and started talking to him. And Henson had a history of working on ships, worked his way up, knew a lot. And Peary says, yeah, I could use this guy, you know, because I want to go to the North Pole. So then after that, he went with Peary, because Peary went down to Nicaragua, he went to Greenland, and Henson was able to pick up the Eskimo languages or the Inuit languages very well, and he was a real good helper to Peary, and Peary realized this. So then they tried to go to the North Pole a number of times, but failed each time. This was maybe starting around 1902 or something. And then finally they went in 1908, and it was in the latter part of the year, because that's, you know, I don't know why they picked that, but anyhow. And then it went over into the next year of 1909, and then finally on the 6th of April 1909 they did it, or so they say, that it was Peary, Henson, and 4 Eskimos or Inuits that reached the North Pole. All you hear about is Peary. You don't hear about Henson. You don't hear about the Inuits that were up there with him. And the story goes that Peary was actually in a sledge being pulled, and Henson and the Eskimos or the Inuits were the ones pulling him. And the story goes that the actual first man to reach the North Pole was actually Henson and not Peary. But Peary got all the credit, and Peary certainly didn't want Henson to get credit, because Peary was a white guy, Henson was a black guy. Back in those times, you know, things were different then. So that's the way it went. But then finally in around 1937, it was that Henson finally got credit for his feat, maybe got some medals or something. And then he lived a life and wrote a book, and I'll put it down in the remarks section of the video. And in 1937, he finally got credit. Anyhow, he died in 1955 and was buried in Woodlawn Cemetery, which I believe is up in New York. I'm not 100% sure of that. But in 1987, President Reagan authorized him to be buried where he should, in Arlington National Cemetery, with his wife, who was his second wife, I believe, was Lucy. So there it is, 1987. He finally got his just due, and there's a plaque down in Arlington Cemetery. And not much else you hear about it. But here in southern New Jersey, in Camden County, there is a statue to Matthew Henson. So it's not far from my house here. So I went up the other day, and as you can see, drove up there. It's not in a real conspicuous spot. It's not, you know, there's a little museum there. It used to be a church, closed now during COVID times, of course. So at least got to get some pictures and some videos of it. So let's take a look and learn and see the statue to Matthew Henson in Camden, New Jersey. All right, let's go. Well, we're down here in Camden, New Jersey. I got my COVID mask on. So we're coming in here at the Camden Shipyard and Museum for the statue and dedication to Matthew Henson. Right here. The museum's closed, of course, but the background story is that he's the first actual guy that stepped on the North Pole, and he's a black man. So we're going to go inside here, and museum closed for COVID-19, but the gate is open, so we can walk inside here. And there's a statue up there. There he is. He's got the American flag, and it says here Matthew Alexander Henson. He died in 1955, so he lived quite a while. Co-discoverer of the North Pole with Matthew Perry, an Arctic explorer. And some people, looks like they left him something growing there. I don't know what that is, onions or something, but there he is. Up there, Matthew Perry. Right here next to the museum, which used to be an old church, but it's now the Maritime Museum. And of course, that is closed. Right there. There's the church. And look at Matthew Perry. Well, Matthew Alexander Henson, who was with Perry. And there he is. A little larger than life. But it's right here in downtown Camden. And you would have never thought an apropos place to have it. But right where it is, there's a mini mart downtown in a very urban area. I think that's the only statue you're ever going to find of him. But it's down here, and there's some boats over here and more boats in the back because of the Maritime Museum. And you can see on the door up there it says Camden Shipyard and Maritime Museum. And they got a number of boats here and different things, but all closed up now because of COVID. Right on a busy street, and we'll do a little 360 here. I'm parked on the lot here, and we'll turn around here, and this is where we are. We're into the sun here. So there it is. Had my hand over there, keep the sun out. But there's the Henson. Here he is. All right, we're going to leave him for now. See you later, Mr. Henson. Okay.